I'm with Ryan Lupberger from Cleancult, who makes products that are greener than green. These are really perfect. And look at how nice they look.
Yep.
They're in milk cartons or something? Soap? Tell us, Ryan, about this.
Yeah, so we actually started Cleancult to basically create the cleanest cleaners on the planet. And what we saw is that when I walked down cleaning aisles, for example, all of the cleaning products, including green, were basically packaged in heavy plastic, right?
Number one.
And number one. And it was like, this is so ironic that the Better for the World brands are using really heavy petroleum-based packaging. And it always this non sequitur for me saying, this doesn't make sense. And then I would look at their ingredients and say, you know, I still don't totally understand that. I don't understand the ingredients. And I would look at basically how they actually worked, and they didn't clean that well. And it was basically like, we need to create a brand that's actually clean from packaging to ingredients to actually efficacy. And that's why we started this and put our soap in milk cartons rather than bottles.
Why? To reduce the plastic, right?
Exactly.
Because it's recyclable.
Yeah.
1 million people walk down the grocery aisle every day. Yeah. But then along came you.
That's ideally.
And I mean, how many people have not thought of this? You know, you said, wait a minute, this isn't a big plastic.
Yeah. Well, it's so fascinating because when we've seen kind of this movement against plastic, right? Yeah. We've seen it done with food. We've seen it done with certain permanent different products, right? But then you go into cleaning and it's still from the 1970s, right? And you've had these other companies come out with concentrates, but the concentrates are still in big plastic bottles. And it was like, this is so, it was mind-blowing to me. No one thought about doing it differently. And then it was like this aha moment. What could we put liquid and paper? And I was like, milk. It's always been done, and like we tried to do it again. So we've been basically designing this for almost 1.5 years now. It's actually very hard to put soap in milk cartons, and now we're launching now.
And how are you launching? What are you doing?
Yeah, so we actually just launched basically nationwide in the Container Store. So we're in all of their stores from New York to California, and they're basically holding our entire product suite. So liquid dish soap, all-purpose cleaner, dryer balls, foaming hand soap, bar soap, dish tablets, and laundry tablets, and then the refills for all of those products. And then also online on our website, and we just actually did our launch video that just surpassed 1 million views in just about 24 hours. So
how did you get 1 million views? On YouTube?
On YouTube, yeah.
And how did you send people? Where did the million come from?
Yeah, so we have a really interesting story that we actually designed the actual soap from Puerto Rico. And that's a whole other part of our story that we can get into. But essentially, we did our launch video on YouTube. We put $10,000 in marketing behind it, and it just caught. We've never seen sharing rates like this, commenting rates like this. We had over 1,000 shares on both platforms, and basically reached 1 million in just over about 48 hours. So,
did you buy Google AdWords for it?
No, literally just YouTube promoting. So we basically put this video in front of people and then put this video on Facebook, and then just $10,000 later, it had enough sharing and virality coefficient, it just caught on. So I wish I could be more scientific about it, but we weren't.
What was your headline?
Headline is, the last bottle of soap you'll ever need.
That's good, right?
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
Right. Why and how the Container Store? Of all the stores in the world, why do you roll out there? Had a contact or something?
No, so we got really lucky. So actually last year we launched with Indiegogo, so pre-sales crowdfunding, right? We needed enough basically money to produce this, to see if people even like this, to see if I was just crazy. I'm from Boulder, Colorado. Maybe I was just hippie and crunchy and no one would like milk cartons, right? And we sold over 10,000 units on that, and went really, really well. And one of the Container Store buyers saw us there, and he reached out cold at our hello@Cleancult email saying like, hey, we love what you're doing.
On Indiegogo?
On Indiegogo. Yeah, we love what you're doing. Do you want to come down to Dallas? And then actually, he didn't say that specifically. He said, do you want a phone call? And then the next day, I said, I'm going to already be in Dallas, which wasn't true at all.
Right. Good for you.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would love to have a meeting with your team. And we sat down, and basically, we just completely connected. We were a great brand for them. We were not the conventional brands. We had an interesting value prop with better ingredients. And then they said, let's do it.
I'm sorry, that's a scene out of a movie.
Yeah, right?
In fact, I'm going to be in Dallas tomorrow.
It really is.
You put the ticket on your credit card.
Literally the next day, it was like, I got to be there.
Yeah, that's one of the best stories ever. Now, we have 3 different products here. How many products do you have?
Yeah, so we have 12 products total. So our first 7 products are liquid dish soap, all-purpose cleaner, so for use in tables, basically chairs, woods, glass, your entire house, right? Liquid dish soap for your sink. We have foaming hand soap for both of your bathrooms. This is the foaming hand soap. This is the all-purpose cleaner. This is the liquid dish soap. And then we actually have laundry and dish tablets, right? So you're familiar with like a Tide Pod, right? So the pods have liquid or powder on a water-soluble film. When we first tried to do that, what we found is that you have to basically package that in plastic.
Right.
So when we went to do that, it was like, no, this defeats our whole purpose. So then we looked at tablets. Our tablets are entirely biodegradable. They basically dissolve the same way like pods, but instead of needing plastic packaging, we can ship them in paper. So for our 2 plastic pouches, basically, when you see, imagine a Tide pouch, we do that for ours, but rather than having to do more plastic, we actually refill that with paper refills rather than plastic refills.
Where were you doing this? In your garage, in a factory where you rented space? Where was all this development work happening?
Yeah, so actually Puerto Rico. So it's a wild story. When we first launched this, it was an idea basically out of a dorm room, right? So I was in business school at Babson College and said, like, look, I think there's an opportunity here. No one's doing what we're trying to do, but how do we do this? We didn't have any traction. We didn't have any funding. We were too basically young to raise enough money based on our experience, right? So we decided to apply for an accelerator program on the island of Puerto Rico. It's called Parallel 18, and it gave us basically $50K in grant funding just to get the idea off the ground. We got accepted. We moved to Puerto Rico, and most people don't know that over 60% of the world's pharmaceuticals actually used to be based there. We didn't know that either. We just went down with an idea and a dream, right? We landed on the island, and we found our basically top PhD chemical engineer. We found this incredible landscape of basically scientists that have been left a lot without jobs because of the fact that all this basically big pharmaceutical companies left, right? And what we found there was great labs, universities, and chemical engineers that really had all this education and experience just without much to do. So we hired our full-time engineer, we launched our first product, and now we actually have an office here in New York City, an office in San Juan, and also a lab on the west coast of the island, Maya West. So crazy story that we kind of just landed into.
You keep telling stories we've not heard before, you know? That's a great one.
Yeah.
But you also believe that it's not just the packaging, but actually some of the ingredients in the so-called, do I want to say so-called green products, that they're not even, it's not just their containers, they themselves have some harmful ingredients? Yeah,
so basically when I first started this, I looked at the back of green products, right? And I didn't understand a lot of the ingredients. And basically, long names that I just didn't feel comfortable with. And you go on the environmental working group, which is a third-party verifier. Some are good, some are bad, some are terrible, some are perfect, right?
And you're finding these in green products.
Correct, yep. And we just didn't know. And basically, I needed to trust the ingredients that were on the back of my bottle and needed to understand it, right? So basically we said, look, we cannot just use the formulas in current green cleaners. If we're gonna really make the cleanest cleaners on the planet, we wanna do it from packaging, we want to do it from ingredients, and we also want to do it from efficacy. It can't just be one of the three, right? Because we don't just want to create a small brand. We want to create a brand that actually competes with the likes of 7th Generation, of Mrs. Meyer's, a method that actually can take on the biggest monoliths or Goliaths in the industry. And to do that, it couldn't just be packaging. It had to be everything.
7th Generation cannot be happy about you. I mean, right? They owned that space, right? Now you're saying they could do better, right?
Yeah. You know, I think it's interesting. I think to some extent, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? In no way do we think the current brands are bad. We just think that we can do it better, right? And I think what's really interesting is we also take a much more direct consumer approach, is that a big problem with green cleaning brands is part of the things we chatted about, but really it's also the experience with the next generation of customers, right? With millennials who prefer an attractive brand online with affordable and convenient pricing, with basically design and marketing they can actually understand. So that's how really we position ourselves. And then the Container Store deal kind of just came out of nowhere. So we've really become an omni-channel brand.